channel. Thank you for joining me on my total wellness journey. As per usual, I have to give you shoulders when I say that. I don't know why. So it is the week of Valentine's Day. I'm sorry if that's triggering for some of you. But I figured this would be a good time to talk about how my love life has impacted my wellness, or maybe the lack thereof of a love life. I don't know. Romantic love is something that has always kind of eluded me or caused me a great deal of pain and strife. So before I even get into telling y'all my business in that regard, let's just back up. I am aggressively single. I don't even know how long I've been single for, because what counts as a relationship these days? Who can say? It's really hard to know, it's like, what's the defining moment? It's like, if they met your mama, because that's a trick of the devil too. You could fully meet a dude's mama and you are one of like 5 girls who met his mama that week. So anyway, I can't say how long I've been single, but it has been a while, a crazy long while. So legit, I ain't got no hoes. I ain't got no hoes. I ain't got no hoes. Oh, where did my hoes go? I really don't. And people really have a hard time accepting that. Like, every time I go home, that's like the first thing that people ask me. And I am slowly learning how to not go into like a blind rage when people are like, oh, who are you seeing? Who are you dating? Because there are far more interesting things about me and about my life than like who the man is in it, or it's like, find something else to discuss with me. And I know people don't mean any harm. It's just like a common way to start a conversation with a woman, but it's a much more personal thing than I think people realize. And then the way that they respond to my answer really infuriates me, because it's like, you ain't dating nobody? I don't believe you. And it's like, what would I gain by lying? Why would I lie? It's very infuriating for people to, number one, question you about why you're still single, that word still, and then to not believe you when you say, like, there's no one on the roster, the bench is empty, we just out here living a very full and enjoyable life that just does not include a man. So at this point, I've just decided to tell people no one's special, so that they don't feel the need to double down on this very invasive question. Especially because it's like, girl, did you forget what dating was like before you settled for the man you with? Have you had a conversation with a dude? Have you casually scrolled through social media? Like, a lot of guys just are not, in my experience, don't come at me with not all and, well, that doesn't happen to me. Good for you, girl. In my experience, I just have not come across a lot of guys who are looking to actually be serious. The other thing too is, like, I know myself really well now compared to years ago, and the show Sex Education had this really profound scene where I was like, damn, I wish I'd had that verbiage a really long time ago. For the people who I have attempted to date or who have attempted to date me, they're not ready for the level of intimacy that I'm looking for. And when I say intimacy, I'm not just talking about sex. I think that intimacy involves far more than sex. Don't get me wrong, it's a factor. But when I say intimacy, I mean vulnerability, I mean honesty, I mean that gradual exchange of vulnerability. You share something with me and I share something with you, and we over time start to feel more safe sharing these things about each other, so that you get a better picture of who I am, so that you can understand how to love me, and so that I can understand how to love you. I just have not met anyone yet who has been on that same wavelength. And it just has not gone well for me. Historically, I was looking for guys to make me feel worthy, to make me feel deserving to make me feel whole, and those are things that come from within. Another person cannot do enough to make you feel like you are worthy or deserving of love and affection and attention and kindness if you yourself do not feel that already. And woe for the people who think that another person can do that for them. I was in a relationship with a person a really long time ago who I relied on them to make me feel that I was deserving of love, because they loved me in a way that I had never been loved before. And back then, for what I knew love to be, it was like the most I had ever received. And it was actually just like a really toxic relationship, where there was just this pattern of me getting in relationships with guys who did not really see me so much as they saw a fantasy of who they wanted me to be. What I really, really want is for someone to actually see me and not run away scared or not be turned off by what they see. I kept running into situations where guys would make me into, or attempt to make me into, a fantasy of who they thought that I was or who they wanted me to be. And back then I had like no level of awareness of who I actually am and what my purpose is. And you know, this was like in my early 20s, so I would just kind of like go along with it. I was just like happy to take what I could get, because I just was not in a good place back then. I was still living in Atlanta. I was working 2 part-time jobs, and I was still like really, 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 really broke. Like I was always working, but never really had very much money. All of my friends were doing so much better than I was career-wise. They were getting like masters and doctorates and buying houses and cars, and I was just like clocking in at H&M part-time, like, come see me at work, y'all. You know, I just didn't feel very good about myself. And I was kind of, I think, looking for guys to make me feel that I was still okay, even though I didn't have these certain things that we feel we're supposed to have by a certain time. I wanted someone to make me feel that I was still okay, and I was accepting all kinds of piss poor behavior because I was looking at my single life as something that I needed to escape from. I was prioritizing being in a relationship over being happy. And then for a really long time, I knew I wanted a relationship, but I was afraid to say it because I didn't want to face the rejection. I could not handle someone telling me, no, I don't want to be with you, because then that would confirm this like core belief that I had, that I was not worthy of being loved and that no one would ever actually love me in that way. And that was really, really hard for me, because like I was avoiding saying what I really, really wanted because I didn't feel that I was worthy of it. And then if the person said no, then it would just confirm this like core fear, this core belief. And I think that I was with people who really took advantage of that and really kind of were very manipulative in the way that they would kind of like dangle this commitment over my head. They would try to, or they would successfully lure me back after treating me like shit, picking me up and putting me down over and over again. And they would just kind of lure me back in with the promise of, oh, well, maybe we'll be together, or, you know, I could really see a future with you. Like, it was so awful. And it, for someone who already was struggling with severe depression, it was the worst possible thing that someone could do to me, was to tease me with the promise of what I thought would make me feel like I was a person who was worthy or deserving. And my health was impacted so much by this. I really, really, really hate the idea of women's lives being determined by their romantic relationships. Like, there have been countless movies about Coco Chanel, and they all seem to center around the men in her life, or even Jane Fonda's documentary, which you should really watch. It's like the chapters were broken down by the men who were in her life, and I'm like, they've led these very full and amazing lives. Why does that have to be the defining feature? But I think that the way we relate to romantic partners says so much about where we are in our lives. And for me back then, it was the defining, I guess, principle was I kept just picking what I thought that I was worthy of. It was very reflective of what I thought of myself, because some of these dudes didn't have jobs, didn't have cars, weren't really doing a whole lot, but I thought they were doing me a favor by even like texting me regularly. Like, what is that? So if you are already kind of struggling with low self-esteem or self-worth or depression or anxiety, you will not find the answer to healing that in another person. And if you think you do, that person is probably using that to manipulate the shit out of you. So I was gaining weight and losing weight and gaining weight and losing weight, and my depression was just like sky high. I was always anxious, and one of the things that really tells me whether or not I should be dealing with someone is my sleeping habits. If I cannot sleep, something is not right. That is like my intuition. And I think intuition is tricky because you need to know whether that's based on your gut or whether that's based on past trauma. And sometimes we just be having trust issues. And like, that man ain't even did nothing, but you just got issues from your previous situation. But for me, my sleep would be really, really screwed up if I was dealing with someone who I knew in my heart, who I knew in my gut was not good for me. And I think you can do all the face masks that you want. You can go to the gym as much as you want. You can drink all the good smoothies. You can take all the good supplements. You can be on your sea moss wave all day. That will not combat the fact that you may or may not have a person or a romantic entanglement in your life that is not actually good for you. You will not sleep mask away the anxiety that is caused by a person who just is not good for you. And I ingest a lot of media because of what I do. And I see so many situations where it's just like, why are you staying with this person? This person's obviously horrible for you. But we have this fear that like, that's the last, that's the only, if I don't make it work with this person, there's gonna be no one else ever again. That is not true. It just isn't. Google what the world's population is. Hit pause, open another browser window or another window, and you will see like there are a lot of other people in the world probably with much better sex than what you're getting right now. I don't know, but there are so many other people in the world, and you are probably putting yourself through hell holding on to a person who does not make you feel good. And I think it's interesting to see people who have like, who come into my job sometimes and like their hair is in disarray, look like they didn't wash their face, and like, girl, what's up with you? And I start talking to them, and the whole time it's just like they're dealing with this really, really like awful man in their lives. And I'm like, you know, you could probably balance that pH if you just accept that the call is coming from inside the house. Like, you cannot lead a full and happy life if you have people, not just romantically, if you have people in your life who do not compliment you. I don't think anyone can complete you, but you should have people in your life who compliment you, who are affirming of the good things that you see about yourself, who kind of help to quiet your negative self-talk, but like build you up and take up space for you. And you're deserving of that. It doesn't matter what your imperfections are, what you feel that you're lacking, what you feel that you should have by now, whatever. People who truly are for you, people who truly love you, people who will help you to walk more in your purpose and increase your wellness, increase your self-worth, who just kind of help push you along, because that is inner work. Nobody else can do that for you, but the people in your life, the people around you, have to play a role in making you feel good about you. They have to make you feel seen. They have to make you feel safe. And if they don't, how it's going to manifest in your skin looking crazy, your hair not growing. Sometimes y'all edges are trash because you can't accept that there are just people in your life who do not belong there anymore. Sometimes we outgrow people. Sometimes it's not even so much, I don't like to say outgrow, because I think that implies a certain level of judgment, but you can grow differently. You know, it doesn't mean that this way is better, this way is better. Y'all just growing differently. And maybe you need to create some boundaries. But just understand that when it comes to romantic love, you cannot prioritize the romantic relationship over your own happiness. You're setting that person up for failure too if you're expecting for them to be your end all be all. Those are just two completely different things. Self-love cannot replace romantic love and vice versa. And it is entirely possible to be happy single and also want a romantic relationship. I would love to be in a relationship with a beautiful, beautiful man who is kind and emotionally mature and available and, you know, all of these things. It would be great if and when, you know, that comes along, but I'm no longer gonna force it. And the best thing that I can do for myself right now is to create a life that I love and that I enjoy and that I have right now. Like, this isn't a state of being that I'm waiting to be rescued from. It's not a starting point. Like, your life started a really long time ago, and if you're just sitting around waiting on this other person, what you doing? Like, it's entirely possible to be happy single if you're willing to accept that your total happiness does not lie in another person. It does not lie in another relationship. And stop going out all the time looking for that. Some of the worst evenings that I've ever had in my life was when I went out like, girl, maybe I'll meet somebody, and then I completely miss out on whatever the experience could have been. Start going to places and doing things that you enjoy just for you without this hope that maybe you'll meet someone. And if you are in a relationship and you don't feel fulfilled, you don't feel happy, you're not sleeping, you feel anxious, you know you can't really call this person if you need something, evaluate some things, because you're not going to be able to truly prioritize your wellness, your well-being, if you're holding on to relationships and people and habits and things that just are not actually serving your highest good. Said all that to say, one of the key people in my life who have helped me to embrace this part of my life is one of my good friends, Shani Silver. She is a writer and podcast host. She's going to be on my podcast this week. She has really helped me to understand how to make the most out of being single, how to be happy single while also believing that fulfilling romantic love is going to come into my life at some point. So I'm going to put a link to that episode in the description. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk about this more later. This video is going quite long. And make sure you are signed up for our wellness newsletter. So like, comment, subscribe, share, send some money because I clearly ain't got no man. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.